Hey guys, Will here, and at the moment there's absolutely no doubt about how popular 120fps or 120p, whatever you want to call it, thanks to two unnamed behemoth vloggers. But from all of this, I have noticed one thing. There's a ton of really bad 120p footage coming out right now, and most of this is from Sony users. So today I'm going to show you how to make your Sony 120p not suck. So this video is a couple of months in the making. I've actually been using Sony's 120p for about 6 months now, and I have finally found like the perfect settings for both in-camera and post-production. So today, I'm going to share them with you. Of course, like most camera tutorials, we do actually start in camera, and this first tip is going to sound three things: crazy, controversial, and just plain wrong. My first tip is to shoot your slow motion in Essen Q mode. At first, of course, this sounds absolutely mad. It has half the bitrate of just shooting in 120fps and then slowing it down in post. However, and I have literally no idea why this is, with all my testing, I've actually found there to be less moire and much less aliasing when shooting Essen Q versus slowing it down in post. I honestly don't know whether it's something to do with camera processing versus post-processing, but throughout all my testing, I found it to be better in almost every single way. It grades exactly the same, sharpens much more naturally, and even actually looks a bit smoother. For those of you in the audience who are used to shooting high frame rate mode on Canons like I am, it's pretty much the same. You don't actually get a 120fps file. You get a 24fps file or a 30fps file, depending on which one you pick, and that will be slowed down either 4 or 5 times, again, depending on which frame rate you pick. My second tip is don't shoot S-Log 2. This is one of the biggest downfalls of 120fps shooters on Sony. I get it, S-Log is great for color grading, but when you're stretching out that bitrate, it does fall apart really fast and you get tons of color noise. I recommend these settings, which is actually my custom profile that I made to match with my Canon camera. I'm going to be doing a video on that probably next week, but all you need to know for now is just to add 40 points of contrast in Premiere. Of course, the usual tips: you're going to want to make sure you're shooting on a sharp lens. Of course, make sure everything is in perfect focus. Shoot something interesting. Then we got to head into Premiere. Okay, so the first thing we do if you're using my custom picture profile is, again, add 40 points of contrast. Now, this brings back the contrast to a natural point, as this is kind of flat as it is a cine profile. It just brings back that little bit of extra contrast to make it look that much more natural. Next, we go to the creative tab and add 35 points of sharpness. I found that 35 points of sharpness is the perfect amount for this footage, and notice how there isn't any aliasing on moire. If this had been 120fps footage slowed down 5 times, then this footage would be littered with aliasing and moire. In fact, I'll chuck some examples on the screen where I've actually shot 120fps and slowed it down in post, and we can see just crazy aliasing, moire for days. It just doesn't look that good, really, and you don't want that to happen to your videos. It'll make your videos look like garbage or rubbish or trash, whichever word you want to use. Either way, it will just look bad. What's worse is that the aliasing isn't from over sharpening. It's actually baked in, so there is no easy way of removing this in post. Next, we have the color grade, and for this shot, we're actually going to use a stock LUT that comes with Premiere and turn it down to about 70%. And there you go. Simple as that. The next shot, we're going to use the famous M31 LUT, again turning it down to 70%. And by the way, I don't turn it down because it starts to fall apart. I just turn it down because it looks a little bit too stylized for my taste. So once we got the grade to a place where we're satisfied with it, again, we're done. That's all you need to do. What's great about this is if you're shooting in good light, then this method applies for everything. For example, here's a wider shot and still no moire, no aliasing. It just looks amazing. I don't know why that happened. It just did happen, but it did happen, and I'm not editing it out, so yeah, that's staying in. As a rule, I generally don't recommend 120p for poor lighting, and this doesn't mean low light, by the way. Low light 120p can look incredible. This more refers to shaded daylight. Take, for example, this garage shot. It's just super noisy. It doesn't look good. Because of the higher shutter speed, I did have to crank my ISO to 12,800, and yeah, doesn't exactly look that good. By the way, if you are completely new at this, the reason I'm shooting at a higher shutter speed is because of the 180-degree shutter rule. The 180-degree shutter rule basically dictates that your shutter speed should be double that of your frame rate. Because the 860-500 that I shot this video on doesn't actually have a full 180-degree shutter, I exposed it just slightly over this at 2/50th of a second, and you'll find that this is what most people do who shoot on DSLRs because they just don't have 180-degree shutters. If you don't know about the 180-degree shutter rule, I do suggest reading up on it, but anyway, guys, thank thank you for watching. Remember to like the video. If you want to see more content like this, then smash the subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 10K by May the 1st. I didn't hit it by April 1st, but hopefully if we go hard enough in April, we will hit it by May the 1st. I am done for now, and I will see you guys in the next video.